Many rail enthusiasts have dreamt of what we'd do if we had just a few more coins in the piggy bank. Build a giant garden railway, perhaps, or restore a locomotive to working order on a bigger scale. If there was an endless supply, maybe purchase the Flying Scotsman or something. Well, one man achieved all of that and then some. He left this world having rescued thousands of artefacts from our past from being destroyed, and he got to enjoy it all from the comfort of his own garden on the steepest standard gauge railway in the UK. This is a brief look at the transportation treasure trove that is Fawley Hill. The excuse for many of us that prevents achieving such dreams is usually the money. Well, some get lucky and are born into families with baronetcies and successful businesses. Sir Robert McAlpine spent his childhood working in the coal mines, and progressed his way up to founding an engineering business in his own name. Nowadays, the company is well known for creating countless large-scale constructions. The London Olympic Stadium, Millennium Dome and Bridge, to name just a few. But it all started in Scotland with a small signal box. The family-run business has always had railway connections, as they were responsible for building the West Highland Line extension, with the world-famous Glenfinnan Viaduct in 1901. 20 years later, they were working on the buildings for the British Empire exhibition in Wembley. Here, Flying Scotsman was put on display for the London and North Eastern Railway, which is fitting given a chapter later on in the Locomotive story. Robert McAlpine's great-grandson William was born in 1936, and went straight from school to work in the family business in Hayes, West London. This is where their privately owned railway engines and rolling stock were based, and like concrete, Bill's interest in transportation was set for life. As the eldest son, when Bill married in 1960, he was given part of the family's estate to build his own home, at Fawley Hill in Buckinghamshire. The Georgian-style building is in itself a marvel, but you're likely here to see all of the train stuff, which is inescapable as soon as you step outside. Usually, construction companies are seen as the enemy when knocking down historical buildings, and Robert McAlpine's was no exception, which formed a bit of a contradiction for their director, who loved to rescue things and preserve parts of our past. Bill was the right man for the job as president of the National Transport Trust, owning several cars and traction engines himself. In 1965, he returned to the Hayes depot to find Hudswell Clark No. 31, which was being prepared for scrap. Having a habit of preventing this fate, the engine was bought and taken back home. There was just one problem. The lorry it travelled on tried and failed to drive up the hill towards the house, the wheels sinking into the mud. Steam engines never were good at climbing hills, but it's all the more difficult when you only have two pieces of track. The solution was an uphill struggle, as a stretch of track was laid in front of the engine for it to roll onto. Then the rear piece of track lifted and moved to the front. And on they went, one step at a time, gradually nursing the loco across the field to its new home. By the time the first rolling stock arrived, this became easier, as they built a sled for them to be hauled up instead. So began the Fawley Museum Railway, which runs for about a mile in 2 sections. The primary line is at the bottom of the valley, with a halt and passing loop at each end. The adjoining line curves sharply and runs right up the hill on a 1 in 13 gradient. The brakes have to be applied at the very summit because it quickly runs into the main station, where a storage tunnel and engine shed are located. The little 1913 built tank engine, named Sir Robert McAlpine, BR03, and 2 Planet diesel shunters put on quite a show as they storm the bank. And visiting engines have also had a go. All of this is enjoyed either in a 4-wheel saloon, brake van, or in an open-topped wagon. On site there is also a coach from the Queen's Royal Train, and a director's saloon from the Great Eastern Railway. However, it's what is around the line that is arguably the attraction. When you first arrive at Fawley Hill, you are immediately greeted by the sound of peacocks, and the sight of several species of deer roaming free. In fact, all of the animals in the animal enclosure are there to live in a more spacious ground than many zoos could ever provide them, many being rejected from enclosures elsewhere as they would upset the gender balance. There are also tapir, wallabies, emus, llamas and meerkats, to name only a few other creatures to look after, and to watch out for on the track when steaming up the line. They roam around in some of the most historically rich fields you could find, as it's safe to say that the McAlpines are sort of into collecting things. As his construction business often dealt with the destruction of existing architecture, Bill would put in a word and say, "Bring it home." And I'm not talking about small bits and pieces that you would find in a museum display cabinet. I'm talking about full-sized buildings and bridges and all sorts of things that would never fit in my garden. Lining the line are 2 of the arches from Waterloo Station, entranceways to both Broad Street and Ludgate Hill, and crests from Blackfriars Bridge. There are flagpoles from the original Wembley Stadium, and a water feature made out of old electricity pylons. Elsewhere is Iron Henge, a monument built from pillars extracted from St Pancras. The main station is Somersham, originating from the Great Eastern Railway, and it had to be cut into 3 sections to transport to Fawley Hill. The signal box here was rescued from Shobnall Maltings on the Midland Railway, whilst at the bottom of the valley is another box from Invergordon on the Highland Railway.
Come on, okay. Now everyone put your goggles on.
Oh my god!
For such a short line, you travel further than seems possible, as in the middle of Buckinghamshire, you pass a sign telling you that you've crossed the England and Scotland border. The station halts you embark between are Thrapston from the London and North Western Railway and Bourne End from the Great Western, though this has appropriately been renamed Bourne again.
They don't care, do they?
It's always lovely to see a sense of humour alongside the desire to preserve some of yesterday's world for tomorrow's generation to see. There is of course a whole network of volunteers who help keep the site in good order, and Lady McAlpine still continues the preservation efforts of her late husband. In 2018, Sir William McAlpine passed away, but not before a noteworthy lifetime of preserving things. In 1967, he co-bought Pendennis Castle, another loco that had been on display at the Wembley exhibition in 1925. In 1973, he also acquired Pendennis's arch-rival, Flying Scotsman. Having gone bankrupt in the United States, owner Alan Pegler had Flying Scotsman hidden away near San Francisco, worrying that it would be taken as debt repayment, whilst others worried that it would never return to the UK. After George Hinchcliffe was sent to the States to work out what to do, McAlpine bought the loco and had her secretly shipped back home. After all of that, he was still confident enough to send Flying Scotsman abroad again, this time in 1988 to Australia. If that wasn't enough, on a smaller scale, he also was the chairman of the Romney, Hythe and Dymchurch Railway, having helped to preserve it, and was responsible for resurrecting their number 4, the Bug, which had been found in a scrapyard in Belfast. Sir William McAlpine is now at rest on the estate, and his burial site is viewed through one of Flying Scotsman's wheel tyres. It would take a long video to try and document all of the interesting things that are found at Fawley Hill, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the volunteers found artefacts that they didn't even know were there. The estate is privately owned, but has often become the perfect wedding venue or film and TV backdrop. In 2018, I took part in Channel 5's The Great Model Railway Challenge, which was filmed at Fawley Hill. The storage garage for much of the collection was temporarily cleared out, so that several teams could build a model railway in 24 hours.
That saw is too small.
Let's just say that our team was distracted by the endless stacks of interesting transport items that were scattered from floor to ceiling in every room.
It made it.
Yeah, we'll go with that. You can still visit all of this for yourself, as the museum is open across select days in the summer. Invitation days are announced on their website, and the National Transport Trust often holds their Vintage Festival here. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at the artefact safe haven that is Fawley Hill. Do consider subscribing to the channel, as on the first Friday of each month we'll be looking at more of the world's steam-powered history in the Guide Rail series. It's no private railway, but you can join our private Discord server and get weekly behind-the-scenes posts by becoming a channel patron. Join by the link in the description. Thanks. A big thank you to the following channel patrons:
Alex Goodman, GBH Train, D0280 Falcon, Sean Tempest, Random Thomas Fan, Dark White 73, Andrew Dyack, Reese Lee Walter, Ryan RTS, Ewan Pentland, Steam Power 4472, Jude 72, Firewind 10, Luneacres Photography, Mario Sonic 64, Elias, Soda Fox Art,
and TJOC 9891.